Welcome to the Peak News, and happy 200th to us. Yes, you are joining us on the celebration of our 200th episode, and that's really a milestone for us, and we got to it very quickly because when you do 4 programs a week, you get there quickly. We've got there in a little over a year, and thanks to you and to our sponsors and to our citizen journalists and our interns and Salem, everybody who works here and everybody who's supported us and promoted us and shares us around and goes on Facebook. We say thank you for bringing us here. I'm sure I forgot. Oh, my family. There we go. Including my son, Zach, who's behind me. You're trying to get to, are we up on Facebook? Who's our main intern, our intern coordinator here in Citizen Journalist. Thank you, Zach, for getting us up on Facebook. So if you want to see what I look like, because I'm doing the show sort of solo today. We're going to have Jordan Baldwin, our investigative journalist, doing a call-in in a little bit. But what are we doing here today? Well, we are celebrating the fact that, making it this far is a big deal. And it's been a lot of work and a labor of love for me and a lot of people. And so I am very grateful for being able to get in front of a mic and speak to you, and also to give the mic to so many others. We've had so many great guests throughout the year. And so on this episode, what we're doing is celebrating by talking about, the big accomplishments, some of the things I'm most happy, most proud about having birthed this program. And I say that literally, no, not literally, figuratively, but feels in a lot of ways, even on a daily basis, to do that. And what it means to say the quiet stuff out loud, and what that's meant for everyone here. And as we get around town, as more and more people share us, what that means and how, I believe, it seems, we are shifting the media environment in this town, even as a small, scrappy grassroots organization with a dream of bringing back real journalism with accountability and transparency, and really looking into the stories that need to be looked into in our region that are being ignored or not properly pursued. What that has done over the past year plus, and what it means to you, and how you can get involved, and all that good stuff. So before I go any farther, again, we are streaming on Facebook at the Peak News Media, also on YouTube at the Peak News, and we've been doing this program since January 15th of 2024. And when we got on the air, I had 6 weeks. I had enough money from the sponsors, our first few handful of sponsors that started us off, to go on the air for 6 weeks. And I said, we can do this or we can continue to wait. And so I'm one who takes risks. I'll admit that. And we went, and here we are. Now coming up, we had enough money to get through the end of February, and here we are at our first broadcast day in March, a year later, having survived that. We did go off the air a little bit for a couple of months in the summer of last year as we regrouped, but that's been all part of our learning process and development process. And so on the program today, going to be, again, telling you about what we've been through, and I hope that it inspires you. What we're planning to do, and again, as always, as we are citizen journalists, how you can get involved. We really are moving with program number 200 into what I would say is Peak 2.0. We tried to enter it a while ago, but we sort of got to like 1.9. We never really crossed over, but there's a lot even going on today and this week that shows that we're moving into a new phase. And so again, thank you for all of that support. Also on the program, in our third segment, we're going to be bringing on Jordan Baldwin, our lead investigative journalist, who is now starting to work with a lot of other citizen journalists to get to those stories that we've been promising. We have a big vision. We keep saying it over and over again, and more are joining us. So Jordan's going to be talking about what the last almost year, I forget exactly when Jordan connected with us, probably sometime in the spring, so maybe it's been about 9-10 months ago, and what it's meant to him to be part of the Peak and what he is working on and looking forward to. In this time of the media really collapsing, we're all wondering, those of us who work in the media, what's going to happen next. It's an industry where there've been incredible amount of companies that have gone out of business, across the media landscape. A lot of people have been laid off. The old model isn't working. The old one is it's lost trust and it's lost finances. And so we really are in a new age of journalism. And we here at The Peak know now that we are on the cutting edge of all of that. And we're so honored to bring it here to the Pikes Peak region. I'm Chaim Goldman, the Watchman, and we'll be right back with show 200. Welcome back to the Peak News. I'm Chaim Goldman, the Watchman. You're listening to AM 1460 and FM 101.1. The Answer. And this is The Peak at 200. We are celebrating our 200th episode of The Peak today, since we launched in January 15th, 2024. We did take a couple months off over the summer, and I will get into that shortly. And in that amount of time, doing 4 a week, we have reached the 200 mark. I think there was one day there was something came up, we didn't do a show, but otherwise 4 days a week, sometimes with guest hosts, and we'll be doing more guest hosts. That's part of, as we move into 2.0, I want to get into as we bring more and more people on and give people the platform, because that's always what The Peak was intended to be. It was a citizen journalist platform that we, the people, can talk about what's going on in our region, the good, the bad, and yes, the ugly sometimes, but we need to deal with that as a society, and media is supposed to be covering that too. Well, if you know about the show, today is generally business and culture Mondays. We do government and politics Tuesdays, faith and family Wednesday, and media and education on Thursday, and then rinse and repeat. So today is, it's sort of business and culture, but really we're celebrating our 200th. And we did have, interestingly, as things go in radio, we actually had a guest plan. Then we found out that today was our 200th episode, and our guest had to postpone, and we'll be on next week. So it turned into the program that I thought of when I said, 200, we need to do a recap. We need to talk about what we're most proud of, where we're heading, how people can get involved. And I'm going to be talking about what I've learned over 200 episodes, because even with a lot of years in media business, I guess about 35 or 40 years doing that, or 40, maybe even more if you count some little things I did as a teen, as I was on my journey in this way to be a communicator and to be part of the media landscape, that working through this and putting on a show every day is an amazing thing. And so you learn, especially when you're trying to bring journalism back in, you learn a lot. So at the end of the program, I'm going to talk about things that I've learned over these 200 episodes about journalism itself. And it's fascinating, because I thought I knew things, but when you're in it every day, you learn a lot more. So this is generally our headline segment, but I'm going to be giving some peak headlines from the past 200 episodes. First of all, when we launched back on January 15th, 2024, I had been thinking about and planning about and pitching something like this show. It was called the Pikes Peak Show originally. For, a couple of years. I was even trying to bring it on to another radio station, and that didn't work out. And then I ended up starting working at Salem, and from inside Salem to put this program on the air. And we had some sponsors, especially Springs Dentist, and always a shout out to them, our platinum sponsor, been with us since the beginning, our family dentists and friends of ours who for years knew that this was on my heart. They said, when you're ready to do it, we're in. And they've been in, and thank you, Springs Dentist, Dr. Craig Summer for doing this and for continuing to support us through this first year plus. Is we had 45 days worth of money. Okay, we pay to be on here at Salem. It is our show. It's on Salem, but it's our show. It's independent of Salem, other than the platform, and we love it. And thank you for Salem for doing a local show and allowing us to do it. We're the only local show all week in the during the Monday through weekday time slot. Otherwise, it's all national hosts. We hope that we'll see more local hosts as we grow and cultivate a lot of talent here on the Peak. We have plans to expand out to other local programs during the day, but we're the only one right now. And we had 45 days worth of money. I said, you know what, I can keep trying to get on the air, or I can get on the air and then see what happens. And so we did. And so we went on January 15th, had enough money to go through the end of February of last year. And here we are sitting in March, a year later, and obviously we made it. So was it a risk worth taking? I think so. They are when they work out, aren't they? But I encourage you through that, yes, don't go out with a completely empty tank. But so much of the time, you just got to start. You just got to go. You got to get up and you got to go. And so I encourage you, if you have something on your heart to do, that you do it and figure out how to do it. Secondly, the "we say the quiet stuff out loud" motto that has really become our watchword, our guide. We didn't start with it. We started with your daily views of the Pikes Peak region, which I always like, double entendres, triple entendres. So, we have this great view of Pikes Peak from all over the region. It's like the thing that unites us all, right? We're amazed every day how there's a different, I think God paints a different picture on the mountain, especially this time of year. It changes every day. And I believe everybody who lives here, it inspires us all. And it looks different from where you are. And of course, that we're here giving different views of the Pikes Peak region. So we did that. But over time, as we were talking over and over about real journalism and the importance of it and how the mainstream media wasn't doing it, and so many people that have platforms are seeking to be influencers, not really bringing the news and finding our way, right, as a new organization always does. One day, I said, "We say the quiet stuff out loud," which recently someone had told me. They said, did you purposely change that saying? And I said, "What do you mean?" Because in my head it was that, but it is true from the beginning. It was saying the quiet part out loud, which actually funny, and looking it up after that, comes from The Simpsons, as doesn't everything, and something Krusty the Clown said about, I said the quiet stuff. I said the quiet stuff out loud. Or the quiet part out loud. But I think stuff is better. I think it covers more. And anyway, it's what came out, and it's our motto. And this guides all of us and everybody who is here, whether they're on staff, they're volunteering. We say this is our mandate. We can't be quiet. We need to tell these stories. We're not always shouting from the rooftop some kind of controversy. Very often it's just good things going on in our region and bringing on people. But sometimes there is controversy, and there's certainly more out there as we get the ability to tell more and more stories. And so everybody who is here, if I have to tell them, this is what the brand is. This is what the Peak News is. We say the quiet stuff out loud. And so there've been times, certainly, where I've thought, can I say that? Should I say that? What are the implications of saying that? And then there is discretion in everything. I'm not saying I just say everything, because part of journalism is knowing what is the story and when is it told, and does it serve the public good or does it not? Is that really a story? And that's so much later on I'll be getting into about what I've learned about journalism. But that is what I say to everybody. When the time comes and something needs to be said, you're confident in it, the information is solid, or you believe that you really have a good perspective on it and that you can give, an opinion, an educated opinion on it, you got to say it. We have to stop being quiet. And more than anything else, I hope that inspires you to do it also in your family, at your workplace, anywhere where people try to shut you up, that you don't do it just to shout. You don't do it to be disruptive, but you do it because we need to be truth tellers. And that's what we are in this society. We should be, and invite you to be a watchman also. Lastly, citizen journalism. It's a term, it's used, but we're really, really trying to accomplish it here. And so through our guests coming on, and the wonderful guests, and you can go on our website, and we have the podcast there now, almost 200. After today, it will be 200 podcasts. And you can look through and see the guests and see the topics and choose. And I believe that we've covered a lot of ground, and we've interviewed a lot of great people, and we're just getting started. And also with our citizen journalists and with our interns, that we really can do citizen journalism, that there are enough people here that want to tell the stories. And in fact, we are starting our very first citizen journalist training course tonight. Sorry, too late for you. We invited you to join it, but we have our dozen students who are entering in and going to be teaching them the basics and credentialing them. And this was the vision from the beginning. And so happy, just turned out that on the day of our 200th broadcast, that we are formally launching our citizen journalist program. And our internship program is going strong too. Seth, one of our interns, is running the board right now in the booth. When we come back here on the 200th episode of The Peak, we're going to have investigative journalist Jordan Baldwin talking about what the last 200 episodes have meant to him. Okay, cool. Hello. Welcome back to the Peak News. I'm Chaim Goldman, the Watchman. You're listening to AM 1460 and FM 101.1, The Answer. And I want to do, before we get to Jordan Baldwin, I want to do a shout out to our brand new sponsor. So new that we don't even have a commercial running for them yet, and that is Mayweather Boxing and Fitness, a high energy and fun group workout experience that will increase your fitness levels while building your strength and confidence. This is new. They just opened a few months ago, I believe. They're at 9625 Prominent Point in Colorado Springs. That's off of Powers. And actually, as part of this sponsorship, I'm going to start working out there. I'm gonna track my progress. I'm gonna become a lean, mean fighting machine. Get rid of the flab that I have here. I love a boxing workout. Used to do it years ago, and so very excited for Mayweather Boxing and Fitness to be our new sponsor here on the Peak. So thank you to Mayweather Boxing and Fitness, and we'll see you over there, and hope to see you over there working out. So this is our 200th broadcast episode of The Peak, and so during this segment, we have a call-in from Jordan Baldwin, our lead investigative journalist. Jordan Baldwin. Hey, thanks so much for everything that you've brought to The Peak during this time. You really, came in at a time when I felt I'm doing this by myself, and you were out doing it by yourself. We said, let's do it together. So in this time, and I think it was somewhere in the spring of last year that you came and joined. You were one of the first group that we did a Zoom call with citizen journalists. And thanks for all the work that you've done, and including tonight, we have our first citizen journalist class, and Jordan's going to be there as part of that to be part of the merriment with that as we school our first group. But Jordan, for yourself, bringing First Amendment Media, your organization, on board with the Peak, what do you feel most accomplished about in your time here working with us? So, and thank you for that. Jordan's been behind the scenes training them up in an informal way, and also since he was self-taught, I've loved mentoring Jordan, because I've been doing this for 40 plus years, and so it's been great to pour into him because he works so hard. It's great when Jordan, and I thank you for that, for applying yourself so much to everything that we're doing. So as we move into this, past our 200th episode today, into sort of Peak 2.0, and moving in with more citizen journalists and formal training and guest hosts, and you're going to be guest hosting at the end of the month here, so that's really cool. What are you most looking forward to over, let's say this year in 2025 with where the Peak's going? Yeah, and Jordan, if you didn't know, like he was bringing in reports about what was going on up in Aurora with the gangs a month before it was national news. Of course, the whole hate crime hoax story surrounding Mayor Yemi, where we really, are the only ones that have paid attention to that. Is so much so that even Jordan's heard from law enforcement saying, wow, you guys are really doing something that the rest of the media isn't doing. And so we're proud of that, saying the quiet stuff out loud there. And Jordan, I'll just say, because you're going to be here tonight, you're going to be really happy because we got a dozen people that we're training tonight to turn into citizen journalists. You're listening to The Peak. I'm Chaim Goldman, the Watchman. Today is show 200. And when I come back, we're going to be talking about what's going on with The Peak, the state of The Peak. Mm-hmm.
You're forgetting that mic is not what picks up the live stream. Remember, we have the board audio going through, so the live stream can't hear it. And
okay.
There's an idea of putting it on these mics. But I was talking about there's
Okay. Well, at least it's on the camera. Can you turn it down? No. Yeah, just turn. So even though.
that mic is
and it's not feeding to here.
Right.
Okay. So yeah, we need to solve that. We really need to solve that because I just did a call in that people can't hear. Why not? It's coming through the board there.
Right, but the board there is not going to hear.
Right.
But this does have a phone line, so I wonder how we can.
Talk to Matt because I really, we have.
I was patching it through this phone line.
I really wanted to go out. Really wanted to go out on the live stream. I mean, we had this solved for a few days before they switched over. Like this actually worked when the camera feed was going out. Yeah, we would want the gym rant right. The gym rant doesn't go out ever on the live stream. It's like ridiculous. 200 shows and the gym rant doesn't go out. We got to solve this tech stuff.
I think gym rant. We could probably put that on one of these mics. I think.
Okay, well, go talk to Matt. Thank you. Welcome to the Peak News. Welcome back to the Peak News. Welcome to the 200th broadcast episode of the Peak News, where we say the quiet stuff out loud, and we've been doing that for over a year, and we're going to continue to do so, and saying it even louder with your help. And so we invite you to take part in this citizen journalist project that, yes, I came up with it, but the whole purpose of it, if you haven't noticed, it's not the Chaim Goldman Show. It's not The Peak with Chaim Goldman. Those are popular names. I never intended that after a year on the air that I would basically be the one who is here every day doing the show. I thought that we would cover a lot more ground, that we would do things a lot quicker, but it's okay. We've learned a lot. But starting today, that is changing. With episode 200, we move into The Peak 2.0. And you're going to be hearing a lot more other voices. You're going to be as guest hosts, as reporters, as it was intended. Again, took longer, as things do, but we think we've really gotten it dialed in, and you're going to love what's going on, especially if you're not into, as they say, the cult of personality. Within radio, and this is the thing, and we're going to buck the trend here by bringing on a lot of people. It's like you don't do that. People tune into radio, especially talk radio, because of the personality, because of the person. And so it's advised that you don't switch up having other hosts on the program too much, if at all, because people get used to a host. And I hope that it's not me who is the star of the show or who carries the show, that it's the content, it's our ethos, it's what we're doing. And so that no matter who hosts it, as well as, they're talented. And of course, we're only going to give the mic to people that are, on their way. I've been doing this a really, really long time. So I don't expect anybody to, to be at this level, because I've gotten a lot more experience. But there are great people that already have the experience, or they've shown that promise, and we're giving them the mic, we're testing them out, and we're letting them have this platform to, book their own guests and to come on and to try it out. And that can be you also. Go to thepeak.news. That's our website, and look under citizen journalism and join us. Or maybe you want to be a guest, or maybe you want to be a sponsor. And we love our sponsors. They pay the bills. And because we are local stories being told by local citizens, supported by local business, we're hyper-local and a project and a service to our community. I want to give a shout out to all of our sponsors, and please listen to the commercials, patronize them. If you don't want to be on the air, at least, find our sponsors to be those who you do business with. That really encourages them to keep being sponsors, if you know what I mean. And let them know that you found out about the Peak, that you found out about them through the Peak, and that you appreciate them providing this service. So the Peak at 200 broadcast episodes as of today. We are so much more than the broadcast, but let me start with the broadcast. We started back on January 15th of 2024. We have this format of having both guests and outside reports, and mostly it's just been guests. It's been a guest-oriented show. It was always supposed to be a mix of talk, of interview, and of different news reports, and of course, a rant at the end, which Jim Miller, just a guy, has been doing so wonderfully for a year. Originally, Jim was going to sort of host the rants, and we may go to that and have other people do rants, but Jim has so many rants in him that at 200 he's still going strong. And so thank you to Jim for that. Thank you to every guest. Thank you to Salem for allowing us to do this. Thank you for Matt West, our producer. Thanks for all the interns. Thanks to Zach Goldman, my son, who's been our lead intern and citizen journalist and internship coordinator and personal assistant to me for the past year, taking so much off my plate, that's what's made this all possible. And so as we move forward, what we're doing is we're going to be shifting into what you normally hear as a lot of the guests doing a lot of commentary in certain segments. Those are going to be over the next month as we train up new citizen journalists and we get more content providers we've been talking to turn them into reports so that we actually can cover more ground and tell more stories as our intention. The citizen journalist and internship program that we launched here, I think, is pretty novel. It's not that media doesn't have internships, but they've lessened over the years. Not sure why. Maybe just different liability reasons. May just be because there's not time for training them up. But we've always known and believed that that's how we can really cover our region. Even before this year, when everybody, I think, lost trust in the media because they just lied so much about everything over the elections. It really was the death knell for professional media when we got to the end of the elections, and people all over the place understood how much they've been lying and pushing a narrative. And so many of them don't seem to have gotten the message and are continuing to double down on that. And they're going to find their way out of the system because people just don't they never wanted it, but now that that we see what's going on, people don't want it. Is that budgets have been going down because there aren't 3 TV networks anymore is the only place to advertise. There's so many places to do it that everyone in broadcast that's advertiser supported has been challenged. And so I realized if we're really going to build a big news team, especially in a town, Colorado Springs, sizable, but not, and then we're close to a top 10 or 20 market, that we need those who care about our community enough in order to put in volunteer time so that they can get their stories out, serve the community, and we will provide the platform. And so, as I mentioned, tonight we start our first formal, it's a 4-session over 4 weeks, citizen journalist course in order to train up our citizen journalists in effective storytelling, in ethical journalism, in tech training, how to do the technical part around here, and then all the legal, constitutional things and legal things and business that are involved in putting out a program every day. And then they will be credentialed in order to be official citizen journalists for the Peak. And that's exciting. And we think that that's what's been holding people back. I know how to do this stuff and wonder, why don't people come? And finally, we realized that they just don't understand the process and I understand how intimidating it is. So now we will be taking people through the process, putting them into a production formula in order to bring out stories. And so look forward to what we've been promising for a year, which is a lot of citizen journalists telling local stories coming up. Our nonprofit foundation, that's the third point I want to talk about. A few months in, we decided that starting a nonprofit, because, hey, we're in Colorado Springs, and I think it's like a hobby here. If you come up with an idea, you have to form a 501c3. I really didn't want to, but it made sense. And so we did the Peak News Educational Foundation. And this is what we are, through which we are training and also doing fundraising. And if you'd like to give and want it to be tax deductible, that option is there. And I'll give the website now and at the end, the Peak News and /foundation, to find out about what we're doing, what our plans are. You can find out about our board. And what's really exciting is, in a small way, we're doing this citizen journalist course, and that's part of what we're doing through the foundation. But what we're really working on, and we were so surprised when this happened, we thought we were going to do just homeschoolers, but when we started talking with the different school districts and finding out how education is so versatile this year, and there's so much tech training in it, and wanting to give people college credit while they're still in high school, that starting in D11, and we hope to go into other school districts, but starting in D11, we're going to be teaching a journalistic ethics and media vocational training program immediately tied into an internship here at the Peak and potentially elsewhere, because we'll probably have too many interns for our program. And so we're developing out a full curriculum, 2 whole semesters, 12 weeks each, through the public school system, and hopefully we're working on it to also be offering as a homeschool enrichment program to homeschoolers, that it will be a program where within the school system there will be high school and college credit. It's career training, and it will be an accredited course. And that's what we're developing out now, to teach journalistic ethics and tech training, and all being taught by people who work in the industry, me and others who work in the industry every day, and so can not only give practical advice about what's going on right now in the industry, but also contacts, which is so important in every industry, but especially this one. And so the nonprofit foundation is behind all of that training of bringing people up, and especially for young people who want a career in journalism, that this is really their way to break in. Our very first intern, James, after 6 months, got a job at the age of 20 working here at Salem. And this is really how you get into the industry. You get through the door through internships, you hustle, and then when job openings come up, that will be there. And we hope that even within the Peak, there will be levels of job openings, not just volunteer, but we're not there yet. Very quickly, as we're finishing up, also Peak events. This is very important to us, to get away from the radio, to get out into the community. Local radio is all about community. And so we've had different events, including a great fun fundraiser, Taste of the Peak, that we had on January 30th. And we are going to be announcing more and more events, probably one a month, around the city. Different vibe, different things, like we shake it up, but just ways of getting together as a community, coming together to talk about how we make our region better. And as I mentioned, the teaching in the schools, to me, to raise up a new generation of ethical journalists, one who understand that it's not just a job, and it's not something you can take for granted, and it's certainly nothing that you should be selling yourself out for special interest. This is a sacred duty. Media needs to be, as an institution, I'll be getting into that later in the program, about the importance of journalism and what I've learned, how important it is that we've been missing by not having real journalism. But the ability to train up young people to do this before they become activists, before they become journalists in name only and not really journalists, to tell them about the ethics, to train them up, to challenge them, to have a voice, but to also put themselves aside when necessary and just bring information that serves the public. We're really looking for a revolution in journalism, first here in the Pikes Peak region, and then, who knows, across the nation. Well, thank you for joining us on the Peak on our 200th broadcast episode. I'm Chaim Goldman, the Watchman. When we come back, I'm going to be talking about what I've learned about journalism over these past 200 episodes. You're listening to The Peak, and we'll be right back. Not too late, comma, I'll record it when I get off the air. What? Did you find anything else? Or?
No, I haven't found any because there's only
Okay.
9 of them. So I think we should stick with elections if that's okay.
Okay, it just doesn't really fit the show. So I really prefer something more generic that's not even themed. So out of 9, there's not one that's good?
Right. It just that there's not a lot of options, The newer ones just keep on going up, and I didn't see any of them.
Okay, can you talk? Zach?
It doesn't look like it's here.
Okay, I try to get him involved. I mean, if he has 9, there should be 9 new ones to choose from.
There are
But-
new ones, but I think it's from starting with February the 13th.
Hi. Jim's been recording rants, but supposedly the only one that we have is on elections need to be in the summer, and it's Monday. It's a 200th episode. It doesn't fit the show. Seth says he can't find, but we have 5 minutes, so I would need to know, do you have anything different?
You have 30 seconds.
Yeah. But I really,
He hasn't recorded one new ones in a little bit, so there's not that many. There's an evergreen one that we've saved.
what quick,
An
I'm back.
evergreen one about Ask
Top-
the Wife. That's like a nice.
That's what?
It's called like Ask the Wife. It's a nice funny.
Okay.
But it's one we've saved for emergencies.
Okay, then do it. How long?
242.
What?
242.
Okay. Welcome back to the Peak News. I'm Chaim Goldman, the Watchman. You're listening to AM 1460 and FM 101.1. The Answer. Today is our 200th broadcast episode. So congratulations, celebrations, pats on the back to us. We made it. It's a big mile marker. It's a big place that, we want to go. We got to our 100th show. We've gotten to our 200th show, but we are just getting started here. We're just scratching the surface, and we are moving into Peak 2.0 even today with our citizen journalist course starting, and you're going to be hearing a lot more voices, a lot more guest hosts, and the people that they're bringing on, and you're going to see really the vision blooming over the next couple of months. And so I have a chance to reflect on the past 200 episodes, coming here week after week, 4 episodes a week. It's a lot. Adds up quick, but it's a lot. Every show, start with this blank palette and start painting on it. But always it was about journalism. Well, what is journalism? And what have we lost by not having real journalism? That's something that keeps unpacking to me. So at this point that we hit 200, and I'm sure when we hit 250 and 300 and more, I'll have even more insight. But let me tell you what I've learned about journalism over these 200 episodes. Now, my background is in broadcasting and film. So I've been a storyteller, basically my whole life. I've always loved it. Always loved telling stories. And then I got a degree in broadcasting and film, and I've been doing this for 40 years in different ways with marketing and public relations and broadcasting and video production and all of that. So I've known about it before, but coming on every day and having to be the executive producer of a news show causes you to have to make certain decisions and realize that you don't necessarily know what you're doing. You have to figure stuff out. So first of all, real journalism is hard. It's hard to do. It's why you don't see it. It's much easier to just present information and say, well, all arguments are equal, while some arguments are clearly insane. And so you don't want to do that. But neither do you want to bias it and tell people what to think. And so figuring out how to walk that tightrope, to thread that needle, whatever you want to call that, it's really, really hard. And it comes from a level of professionalism and standards and what you promise your audience. And at the end of the day, or the beginning of the day, your gut tells you, is this really a story and how should we tell it? Secondly, build it and they won't come. Build it and they will come may work for, fantasy baseball movies, but basically not for anything else. And so we built it. We invited people to come on, and there was silence. And there's still, I'm amazed how many people haven't taken advantage of it. But we've started putting mechanisms into place to figure out, why are people not responding, or how do we get more listeners? How do we do better social media? How do we attract interns? And as we put those in place, they're starting to work, and we're so happy about that. So, I was told it would take a year to establish a radio show, and we're just about at that year, and we're seeing it coming toward tipping point. Thirdly, journalism is a form of law enforcement. What I mean by that is we're supposed to be out there finding out what's going on and reporting it, shining a light and proclaiming it. And while law enforcement, of course, has its place, a lot of people won't talk to law enforcement because they can charge them with crimes. But when people talk to journalists, guess what? We keep things confidential. And so this is part of researching things. And we found that when journalism is active and running, so much comes into place that it's really necessary. And not having it has been a huge detriment to our country and our world. Fourth, local solves so many issues. When you make things local, people are your neighbors, so you want to think twice before reporting on them. But also, everybody out there knows the stories. They were at that meeting. They saw that accident, whatever. It's hard to lie to people on the local level because we're all witnesses. And then, of course, integrity is key. By continuing to say the quiet stuff out loud and staying true to who we are, we're getting a great reputation in this area. And thank you for that. Please tell others about it. And lastly, a new journalistic media is taking form, and we're at the collapse of the old and just the start of the new. And so with that, we are excited at the peak as we head to tomorrow, episode 201, for what's happening in journalism. And someone who's been with us since the beginning, and we're so grateful for it, Jim Miller and the Peak Rants. Here's Jim. Looks like the storm is moving to the north. Period. Right now, they're only saying 1 to 3 inches in the Springs. Thank you for joining us for our 200 broadcast episode of The Peak News. We're just getting started here at The Peak, saying the quiet stuff out loud, and would love to have you join us. Go to thepeak.news and become a citizen journalist, or if you're a younger person, an intern, or a tech, a guest, or a sponsor. Be part of this citizen journalist project that we're doing. And you can say the quiet stuff out loud, too. We really have created this platform for our region and for you. So thanks again to everybody who helped make the last 200 episodes a reality. But again, we are just getting started. But those thanks definitely go out to Chris Gould, our GM here at Salem Media Group, for giving me a mic to begin with and let me do the Peak here. To all of our sponsors, including Springs Dentist and Dr. Craig Summer, to Matt West, our producer, all of our interns, citizen journalists, and those who listen, you all out there, thanks so much. And especially to my family who continues to support my crazy ideas, my wife, Kim, and my children. And out of my children, my son, Zach, who's been interning here for about the past 9 or 10 months and helping me out so much. I want to let you know, with the elections coming up, if you're a Colorado Springs voter, City Council, the ballots drop on Friday, and we're coming out with a new voter guide with church voter guides, which is another project I'm involved in. So get ready for that. It will release this coming Sunday, the 9th, and you go to churchvoterguides.org for that to find out how the candidates answered our surveys. Tomorrow is Government and Politics Tuesday, and we have Wayne Williams, a former city councilman and so many other things in Colorado. He'll be talking about the upcoming city council election. And Faith and Family Wednesday, we have senior pastor of Springs Lighthouse Church, Brian Michaels, who's also a new host of Salem's Crosswalk. Now, coming up next is the Larry Elder Show here on The Answer, so stick around for that and check out our almost 200 podcasts at thepeak.news. The Peak, we say the quiet stuff out loud for such a time as this. Thanks so much for supporting us. Shalom.